The scene opens on the island of Rahu, Hawaii, where a young lady is seen going through the forest, frantically attempting to save herself from several armed soldiers. While escaping, she comes across a man in a hoodie, Triton. The lady gets frightened, thinking that he's one of the assailants. However, Triton removes his hood and introduces himself as an Inhuman. He asserts that she is also one of the Inhumans, and that he needs to take her where she should be. Before they can discuss further, they hear the soldiers approaching. They try to run, but the lady is fatally shot while Triton sustains a severe injury. Nonetheless, he somehow manages to reach a cliff and jumps into the ocean. The scene then cuts to Attilan, the secret city of the Inhumans on the moon, which is governed by King Black Bolt, Queen Medusa, and other members of the Inhuman royal family. Oh, this is a Marvel story. I totally forgot they made this show. The king's power is his supersonic voice. His slightest whisper can unleash untold destruction, so he doesn't talk much. Most of the communication is done by his wife, whose superpower lies in her strong hair. On the moon's surface, a rover sent by humans is seen analyzing the surroundings when it suddenly discovers Attilan's invisible wall before going static. The operators on Earth are baffled to observe this, as they cannot fathom what happened. Back in Attilan, the Inhuman royal family gathers for a pterogenesis ceremony. Before the process begins, a four-legged royal guard, Gorgon, appears with the Earth's rover. The other royal members express their concern about humans discovering their secret city. Black Bolt's brother, Maximus, even suggests that they attack Earth and capture it, claiming that it's their true home. However, Black Bolt doesn't want war, so he calms everyone down. Following this, the royal family members begin the ceremony, where two young Inhuman citizens, Iridia and Branaja, are exposed to Terrigen mist to reveal their abilities. After undergoing the procedure, Iridia gains the ability to fly, while Branaja finds no change in him. Consequently, he believes that he has no abilities. Maximus goes to console him and taps his shoulder, but when he touches him, Branaja has a vision of Maximus pinned against a wall with snakes attacking him. The boy confides his vision to Maximus, who simply says that they'll discuss it later. At the Lower Palace living quarters, all the Inhuman citizens gather to know about Iridia and Branaja's new powers. While there's praise for Iridia, frustration fills the space as Branaja shows no signs of progress. They ask him to go to the underground mines where all powerless Inhumans dwell. Suddenly, Maximus addresses the people and informs them about Earth. According to him, if they capture Earth, they can all live a peaceful life, free from this caste-based society. Maximus then gets an alert on his comlink wristband, so he goes straight to the palace. He interrupts the ongoing dinner and reveals Triton's death. To prove this, Maximus projects the entire incident through his eyes. At this point, Black Bolt explains that he sent Triton to Earth to help find humans who had gone through pterogenesis in the past. Hearing this, Maximus again suggests that they all go to Earth instead of bringing the remaining people back to the moon. However, Black Bolt asks him to trust him and let him do his job. Later, Gorgon goes to Earth to find Triton, while Black Bolt goes into his private room to take some time alone to think. Meanwhile, Maximus approaches Medusa and questions her loyalty to the king. He further tells her that she would have been happier if she had chosen him instead of Black Bolt. When he starts touching her, the enraged Medusa attacks him with her prehensile hair, warning him against such inappropriate behavior. Maximus realizes that this conflict is the same vision that Branaja saw earlier. The next day, Maximus has his bodyguard, Oren, summon the head of the Genetic Council, Kaitang, for a private discussion. During this, Maximus reveals his plan to attack Earth as well as stage a coup to remove Black Bolt and Medusa from the throne. Hearing his vile plan, Kaitang decides to get him arrested, but before that, Maximus has Oren kill him. He then manipulates the royal guards to lean towards him and orders them to attack all the royal members. The guards first attack the royal advisor, Karnak, and shoot him to death. However, Karnak has the unique ability to turn back time and alter events, which enables him to overpower the gods. What in the world was Maximus thinking? Karnak then warns Gorgon and Crystal about Maximus' planned coup. Sensing imminent danger, Crystal has their teleporting dog, Lockjaw, transport Karnak to safety on Earth. Meanwhile, she rushes to save other royal members, but when she reaches the Queen, it is too late because Maximus has cut off her long hair, rendering her weak. Fearing she might end up dead, Crystal transports her to Earth too. Maximus breaks into Black Bolt's private room and tells him that he is not fit to be king. Upon learning about his brother's evil intentions, Black Bolt is about to voice up, but Lockjaw appears at the same time and teleports him to Earth. Unfortunately, Crystal herself gets caught in the process. Maximus seizes the opportunity to declare the royal family as traitors, further plunging Attilan into chaos. The royal family members find themselves scattered across various locations on Earth. Medusa lands at Jewel Head Pit, Karnak at Hollow Ridge, Gorgon at a coastline, while Black Bolt and Lockjaw are in the downtown street. Despite the blaring of cars urging them to move, Black Bolt remains dazed, accidentally causing a car crash in the chaos. Lockjaw teleports back to Attilan, while Black Bolt leaves before the police arrive. Soon after, Medusa manages to reach her husband using her comlink and inquires about his well-being. Black Bolt responds by placing his wristband to his heart and tells her that he's okay. He then raises the device to let her hear the traffic noises around him. Realizing that he's in the city, Medusa boards a tourist bus heading towards her husband. Karnak also uses his probability powers to determine the best route to find his king. While descending the ridge, he accidentally falls and injures his head. Despite the difficulty, he continues on his journey. Back in Attilan, Crystal is trapped in a large room where Maximus and his guards question her about the others' whereabouts. Amid this, Lockjaw shows up to rescue her, only to be knocked unconscious by the guards. Thereafter, Maximus reveals his plan to take over the throne as the new king. He proposes two choices to her: join his power or face lifelong imprisonment. Crystal responds that she will never work for him, so she is locked in her own apartment. Elsewhere, Gorgon continues to search for Triton in the ocean, but he's knocked over by strong waves. When it seems he's about to drown, he's saved by some surfers. They take him back to the shore and notice his hoof, which makes them realize that he's an Inhuman. Gorgon then shares his situation with them, and they suggest that he reveal his location and divert Maximus' attention towards him. Heeding their advice, Gorgon contacts Maximus and challenges him to a fight. Meanwhile, at the Callisto Aviation Control Center in California, a flight director, Louise, investigates the missing rover. She eventually learns of 4 strange occurrences coming from the same area of the moon where the rover disappeared. She treks these to locations around Hawaii and decides to head there for further investigation. In Attilan, Oren enters Crystal's apartment to give her some food. Yet, the Sentinel responds with her inbuilt handgun, then says that Crystal will eventually have to comply and accept Maximus as the new ruler. Before she leaves, she drops her comlink, which Crystal quickly picks up. She later uses it to contact Medusa, and they share their difficulties. Medusa believes that Oren isn't a fool and purposely dropped her comlink band to trace the call. She then destroys her comlink after assuring Crystal that they'll come back for her rescue. Unfortunately, their conversation time is enough for Oren to trace Medusa, so she promptly goes to Earth to find her. On the other hand, Black Bolt enters a clothing store to make himself appear more presentable. However, he doesn't realize that he needs to pay for it. When he leaves quietly, the retailer calls the police, accusing him of shoplifting. Consequently, he's chased and soon surrounded by the police. They order him to surrender, but he doesn't understand what's happening. Thinking that he's resisting, the officers taser him, causing him to let out a slight whisper. His small sonic sound is powerful enough to throw a police car away. As the situation escalates, Black Bolt is subdued by a group of police who then take him to the station. Once there, Black Bolt uses sign language to communicate his intentions, after which he is sent to jail. On the moon, Maximus summons Branaja and uses his power to know the future. After learning that the Genetic Council members are planning to kill him, Maximus threatens them into joining his power, or else he'll kill them all. Soon after, he addresses the citizens of Attilan as their new king and vows to take everyone to Earth to live a happy life. Back on Earth, Oren tracks Medusa's comlink and finds the device discarded inside the bus. When she steps off the bus, Medusa launches an attack from behind. Following a fight between the two, Medusa is clearly weaker without her hair, but she somehow manages to retrieve a knife and stab Oren fatally before leaving. Sometime later, Oren is revived by her ability to heal, and she contacts Maximus to request reinforcements. In response, Maximus decides to send down some assassins, including a long-time imprisoned and dangerous Inhuman, Mordis. In the next scene, we are introduced to a geneticist, Dr. Declan, whose assistant shows him the video footage of Black Bolt's arrest. Evan immediately recognizes him as an Inhuman and decides to go to the jail at once. On the way, he contacts a prisoner, Sammy, and offers to get him out of the jail under the condition that he befriends Black Bolt. Meanwhile, Medusa is walking on the city streets when she sees someone withdrawing cash from an ATM machine. Unaware of how this works, she stands before the machine and orders it to release some money, but to no avail. She then slips into a house from where she grabs some food and clothes. She has quickly figured out how to survive being poor. Just as she prepares to leave, she sees a newspaper with a headline stating how Black Bolt got arrested. Now she knows where she should go. Elsewhere, Gorgon and his surfer friends, who turn out to be ex-military, get some assault rifles and plan to confront Maximus soldiers. They lead Gorgon to a secret location in the forest where they plan on how to face the enemies. Now that Mortis and some other assassins have descended upon Earth, Orin takes them towards Gorgon's location. They soon arrive at their destination where they're attacked by Gorgon and his warrior friends. Following this, a fierce battle ensues between the two groups. While engaging in a duel with Orin, Gorgon sees Mortis, who unleashes a fiery blast from his eyes. Realizing that they are losing the battle, Gorgon decides to retreat and instructs his comrades to flee. At the same time, Karnak is navigating through the forest when he encounters a drug dealer, Reno, and his two henchmen Ted and Jen. Assuming Karnak is a threat to their operations, they immediately restrain him. While being held, he tries to use his ability to calculate probabilities, but his efforts prove futile. This makes him believe that his power is no longer useful, likely due to his head injury. Karnak then tries to convince the gang that he's harmless, and Jen is the only one who believes him. Later on, she talks to her friends, and they eventually agree to free Karnak as long as he doesn't try to escape. In Attilan's palace, Maximus pays another visit to Crystal, and this time he finally manages to convince her to support him. After this, she walks before the Genetic Council and proceeds to give a PI-written speech in his favor. But in an unexpected turn of events, she opposes Maximus as ruler and freezes the guard's weapons before running towards Lockjaw. She uses her power to awaken her teleporter dog, who then transports her to Earth. Unfortunately, her actions have serious consequences, as Maximus manages to convince the Genetic Council that the royal family is unfit to rule. Meanwhile, in the jail, Sammy tries to do everything he's told. He tells Black Bolt that he wants to help him, declaring that he knows his true identity. The warden sees Sammy being nice to Black Bolt, so he sends them into the yard, forbidding them to speak. When the pair resists, the officers proceed to beat them. However, the prisoners come to their aid, soon inciting a riot. Sammy and Black Bolt take advantage of the commotion and make their way out. During this, Sammy reveals himself to be one of the Inhumans with heat powers. He then uses his ability to facilitate their escape by melting the jail door. Once outside, they see Evan waiting for them in his helicopter, so they quickly board it. Simultaneously, Medusa arrives on the scene, but fails to catch her husband's attention. Louise, who is also there, approaches Medusa to ask what's going on. However, Medusa doesn't have enough time to answer her questions. She instead holds Louise at gunpoint and forces her to pursue the helicopter. While on the flight, Evan introduces himself and tells them about how he has been studying Inhumans. "You guys are weird. I love it." He further expresses his desire to conduct a quick examination on them, for which he requests they go with him to his secret lab. He also asks for Black Bolt's DNA, but the latter refuses until the doctor helps him find his wife. Unbeknownst to him, Medusa and Louise are following them in a car. During the pursuit, they break speed limits and also run a red light, catching the police's attention. Again, in an attempt to evade capture, Medusa shoots towards the pursuing police car. However, this distraction causes them to lose sight of the helicopter, thwarting Medusa's effort. Louise then starts a conversation and soon learns that Medusa is an Inhuman who lives on the moon. She accepts this news surprisingly well. After learning her predicament, Louise decides to help her. The two then check into a hotel where Louise starts working on her computer to locate the helicopter. But before they can uncover any information, the police track them down. So they swiftly flee the area and go to a beachside restaurant where they continue working. After arriving at the lab, Evan conducts a short test and learns about Black Bolt's unique traits and superpowers. He then leaves to secretly contact Maximus to inform him about Black Bolt's whereabouts. Here, it's revealed that the doctor has been working for Maximus. Maximus orders him to kill Black Bolt, but Evan stresses the need to keep him alive to carry out further experiments. Inside, Black Bolt sees one of the lab workers preparing an injection, raising his suspicion. He then secretly checks the injection only to discover that it's poison. Sensing the imminent threat, Black Bolt and Sammy decide to escape the place. Back in Attilan, Maximus gathers all the Genetic Council members and offers his plan to undergo pterogenesis again. The head of the council, Tiber, warns that repeating the procedure might be fatal, but Maximus doesn't seem to care. He asks Tiber if he is loyal, to which the latter confirms. Following this, he takes Tiber for a walk while having his guards execute the rest of the council members. Meanwhile, in the forest, Karnak uses his ability to show Jen how to trim and harvest pot effectively. As their conversation unfolds, they start enjoying each other's company, quickly forming a bond. Shortly after, Jen leads Karnak to a beautiful beach, and they go for a swim together. While playing in the water, she kisses him, leaving him bewildered. Reno secretly watches this from a distance, which fills him with envy and rage. Louise and Medusa finally pinpoint Black Bolt's location and rush towards it. Simultaneously, Black Bolt and Sammy leave the lab, but are confronted by Oren and her team. Black Bolt is shocked to see Mordis, who challenges him to a fight. But before the two can begin, Medusa and Louise show up and knock off the assassins with their car. As a result, Mordis accidentally releases a fiery laser beam that causes a massive explosion, rendering all the assailants unconscious. After this, Black Bolt and Medusa finally reunite, and they leave the scene with Louise before Mordis wakes up.